And welcome back to American Agenda. I'm Heather Childers along with Tom Basili, who is in for Bob Sellers today. You know, just before the break, Newsmax national correspondent Logan Raddick joined us from the border, reporting there with a rancher who he was interviewing on his property, and that rancher sharing some horrific stories, including reporting seeing bodies along his property. Let's bring back in our panel to weigh in on this. And Jim, I'll start with you on this topic because we've been talking about the border, and we've been seeing these images finally come in so people across the country can see what's really happening there. A different situation there at this rancher's property where people are not going across the Rio Grande River, but instead they're going across miles and miles of desert. Also, he's saying that the people that he's seeing in his area aren't the families and the children that we've seen in lots of the images. Instead, he's seeing gang members and very dangerous adult males. Jim?
Yeah, well, let's face it, it's a scary situation. It's something that, as I was listening to him, I'd be very concerned if my family was along that border. But let's face it, this gets back to when you have a president who says that he's going to reverse all of the Trump immigration policies. He's going to welcome, immigrants and refugees to our country. He's actually opened arms back in November and December, and he wonders why all of a sudden we're getting lines and lines of people and we're overcrowded in the detention centers. All of this because we have a president today who wants to just reverse so many things that were working under President Trump and many of the immigration policies under President Trump.
Steve, one of the things that was so striking about this rancher's commentary about what he's been seeing, and Heather and I were talking about it, was the fact that he's seeing people with ski masks, he's seeing folks wearing camo gear. When President Trump raised the issue of criminals coming across the border, he was called a racist, but this is a real phenomenon, and the Border Patrol folks have also confirmed this is a real phenomenon. Your comments on what you heard in that interview?
Absolutely. Look, there's no doubt families are coming across. There's no doubt young children are coming across. But we cannot say that that's it. That's the only demographic coming across. No, we do have gang members. We don't even know who else is coming across, especially if they're wearing ski masks and they're wearing camo. What a dangerous situation to be put in, not just for these folks that are right there on the border, like this rancher and his family, but for the community at large. Once these people get into the interior of the country, who are they? Where do they go? What are they involved in? I mean, it's absolutely dangerous.
Stacy, the video that we're showing right now is of those two young children. I think they were 3 and 5 years old, dropped from a 14-foot tall fence. That was about 50 miles away from where this rancher is in a very similar territory. But as we were saying, it's not just the young children, it's also these adult males. We know that some of those males were actually on the terror watch list. That was reported, and I know, Stacy, you'll remember that, 4 people from Yemen who were on the terror watch list as well.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and I just really have been calling on people on Sirius XM's listener base, and I just will repeat that call. Americans are going to have to step up and take these kids, the 2-year-olds, the babies, the little ones, and adopt them and raise them as God-fearing Americans to bring something good out of this, because it's just a humanitarian crisis of such a proportion that I can't believe it's happening in America today. And I also want to just point out that, when you talk about the terrorists coming over, I think about what I would do here at my house if we're in our neighborhood, or what any person would do if they had a neighbor who was constantly trespassing on their property. They would just put a fence up. They would try to delineate their boundaries. And so for the ranchers who were down there, they have their property, and then there's like that buffer zone that's federal property, and then there's another country. It seems like those ranchers could actually put up fencing for themselves in order to protect their property, to prevent people from coming in. But you're talking about some pretty tall fencing, because if they're willing to drop toddlers over a 14-foot fence, how tall does the fence have to be? So we have law breaking by some, and then you have others who can't use the laws that exist to protect themselves. So I just want to point out that President Trump, who sent mean tweets and said mean things to reporters, protected our border. Joe Biden loved everyone, and the border's wide open. Which of those two situations do you think is truly moral and upright and what we should have in this country?
Congressman, I floated the idea, I believe it was in the last hour, that every Republican member of Congress should make a trip down to the border. We're not seeing activity and visits from as many Democrats. Republicans are talking about this. They're committed to this issue. And do you believe that that the party and that the Republican conference in the House is doing enough to try to call attention to this and the fact that something needs to be done before these folks are ultimately resettled all across the United States?
Well, I do, and I've talked to many of my colleagues about this issue. Many of them have been down there already. Many of them are still going down there. I think they're going to see it for themselves. But look, I would call on not only Republicans, Democrats should go down and look at it as well. It's the problem we have right now with Congress. It is so divided. The Democrats are going to stand together, not look at this issue, and basically take a blind eye to it, while Republicans are going down there and looking at it. So the American people are seeing this. And in the end, the American people should say, we need it fixed. We do need borders. We need secure borders. Republicans need to continue to talk about it. I think they're doing that. I see them talking about it all the time. And again, I know that they're making those trips down there, but making a trip down there and not getting anything done is two different things. And I'm not blaming them because they don't have control of the House and they don't have control of the Senate. But I think what's going to happen in 2 years, the American people are going to look at this and say, wait a minute, we don't want this anymore. And hopefully the Republicans can keep talking about it and make sure that in 2 years changes occur.
Yeah, well, it's been going on for a long time. Thank you, everyone. Stand by. We're not done yet, but we do have to take a quick break. Today, of course, is the first day of April. So what does that mean? Well, what better way to celebrate April Fools than a game with our panel? Stay tuned for that. More of American Agenda after this.